Hello everyone, I'm Aditi from MyOnlineShiksha.com. I hope you're doing well and you're keeping safe. The dream of becoming a doctor is really starry-eyed, but the struggle is real. The first hurdle that takes place is the NEET examination. It is a tough nut to crack. But don't worry, because today we have with us Mr. Amol Kolhe, who is going to have with us a short chat session about how to prepare for the NEET examination. He is the director and dean at Edubase. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're keeping well.
Yes, I am. Thanks. Yeah, it's been crazy past few months.
It has been, really. So we'll just start with the discussion on the topic, how to prepare for NEET. So recently we had the NEET examination, and I suppose on 13th of September.
13th, yeah.
Yeah. So according to you, how exactly was it? I mean, was it tough? On the scale of 10, if you have to rate it, how difficult was it? 10 being the most difficult, of course.
So the analysis as bio paper was a little difficult, basically. Okay. Physics, I mean, as compared to previous years, obviously. But chemistry and physics were just typical. It was average. It wasn't difficult at all. I saw the chemistry paper. I teach chemistry subject. So chemistry was, I think, very easy. It's always that way. Basically, there are a couple of questions that are tricky as chemistry and physics. That's about it. But most of the paper is relatively like an average NEET paper. It wasn't something extraordinary. Average student should be able to solve it without much hiccup. So you have 45 questions in chemistry and physics. You should be able to solve about 40 questions easily without any problem. The problem is, of course, the time limitation, how much time you spend on each question. So you should be able to reach that 40 question mark. Okay, that is the key. If you could reach that 40 question mark, then there is a good chance that you'll get a good score. Okay. Obviously, bio is the easiest of the three subjects, so you can solve that pretty quickly. Usually, we encourage our students to spend about an hour on bio and 1 hour on physics and 1 hour on chemistry, something like that. So the time is evenly split. So the problem is that the students, when they are in the exam hall, they're in the different mindset. They lose track of time, and as a result of that, they end up spending a little too time on one of the subjects. In many cases, they end up spending more time on biology because they find that this is the scoring subject. You need to get maximum marks in biology. Okay, they are comfortable with it. And what ends up happening is they get less time for now physics and chemistry. So they don't go to that 40 question mark. Instead of 40, they end up solving somewhere around 30-35 questions. So that hampers their score. So it is very important to know exactly what you're doing. The paper is easy. You should be able to solve, out of 180 question, you can easily solve 170 question within the given time.
Okay. So when we're talking about, of course, this year's paper, it's really has been a struggle. But, for cracking such papers, you need a thorough preparation. And I'm not talking about a preparation of 2 months prior to the examination. I'm talking about a 2-year preparation, a sustained effort that you have to take to crack such examinations. So, sir, we'll just dive directly onto the topic. How can an aspiring medical student, prepare for this examination?
Well, first of all, you need to get in with the right mindset. Okay, that is one of the things. Most of the students actually get into the program because they find mathematics difficult. That is one of the reasons. Top reason for getting into NEET is maths is tough. They don't know how to deal with math and they go into NEET. Obviously, if you have that kind of mindset, you're basically starting on a wrong foot. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you want to be a doctor. Okay. Then you're gonna have to meet few doctors. Okay. Talk to them. All right. See the type of personalities these people have. You just get the sense of the personalities that these people have, and then you want to incorporate those personalities into yourself. Okay. And this is a good start now. Now you're starting with the right mentality by talking to the right people. Okay. And obviously you get the pros and cons. If you talk to doctors, they will tell you, many of the doctors actually say that nowadays, the young doctors, they're saying, I won't ever let my kid be a doctor, because there are problems with the field itself. Okay.
Right.
But if you want to be a doctor, you need to know the whole picture, not just, okay, doctor is all about money. It's not. Okay. Nowadays you can make money all over the place. That's not the problem. Okay. You can do business to make money. Okay. You don't have to be a doctor for that. So you want to be a doctor for a good reason. Okay. You want to help people. That is a very good reason. Okay. And then that will give you a motivation to start. And then you start early. Basically, you start slow, but you start early. You right on the path. Be on a right path. Basically, okay. You start with the basic concepts, and what we encourage is just revise the 9th and 10th concepts, or just revise the initial. You're done with the 10th exam. You have vacation. Basically, most of the kids are simply, because it's a summer vacation. Basically, most of the kids nowadays, they're just playing video games inside the house or watching television, okay, or on spending time on social media. Well, do that. That's fine. I'm not saying don't do that, but spend some of that time in doing some creative work. Okay, just revise the concepts. I mean, you see the thing about studying now is you're not studying for the marks now. You're not studying for the exam now, because you're done with the 10th exam. You just go over the concepts. Okay, try to get a better grasp of it. Try to clear the doubts you had from that. Okay, this will also help you. Some of the institutes also have their entrance exams. Okay, so if you do that, basically you can get into a good entrance exam. You can get a score. You can get into a good institute also. Okay, not necessarily it's a good institute, but at least that's what you were thinking. Okay, so that's how you start. Okay, you start with the right approach, that you want to be a doctor for a good reason. Okay, and that reason is exceptionally clear to you, and you start revising on the basic concepts. You built your foundation first. Okay, and then you go for the 11th and 12th topic, basically, and you see that it's not difficult. Certain topics are difficult, yes, all right. So some of the topics are difficult, some of the topics will be difficult to most of the students. Okay, but that is the common factor. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, you just go and start preparing from concept 1. Okay, try to understand the concepts rather than how to memorize it. Okay, that is one of the things.
Right.
So the fundamental difference in achievers and not achievers, I don't want to say failures, but the fundamental difference between achievers and not achievers is that achievers are just doing the right things. They're doing the same thing, but in a right way. All right. For example, achievers will be looking at a concept from a different point of view. That's what we tell them right now. Now you need to break into a different study habit. Okay, this is what you need to do. Okay, these are the things you should keep in mind. And the achievers actually start to listen. Okay, and they start to follow. All right. The non-achievers, they are not doing that. They just listen, but they don't follow. Okay. They're not breaking their study habits. They are simply doing the same thing that they did in the 10th. And they believe that because in the 9th and 10th, they got very good percentage, 95%. And they believe that this is a good study method even now. And if you keep doing that, it's not going to give you a good result. And very soon, within 2 or 3 months, they realize that they are far behind in the class, even though they had very good percentage in the 10th, right? But very soon they realize that they are not good in the class, and that starts to set in. So basically, start is the most important thing. Okay, you need to start early, you need to start slow, you need to start methodical with the right approach. Okay.
Correct. While we're on this topic, as you said, you should start early. Of course, starting early starts with a good preparation, as well as you need a good guidance. So you have your courses on MyOnlineShiksha.com as well, and they are pretty good courses. And you've taught biology and you've taught chemistry, I suppose. So, yeah. So, can you shed some light on all the aspects that you've covered in these courses?
Well, we are basically still in the process of building the course. Okay,
Yeah.
we have built some of it.
Yes.
The idea is that, look, we want to kind of give a different perspective of the subject itself. A lot of the students actually come with the mindset that they need to learn. Okay, no, you don't need to learn, you need to understand. Okay, so that's what our focus is, to make them understand, okay, from the concept. And the course is designed in a way that you have a concept. Okay, we take a particular concept, and then there is a question followed by that. So and the questions are really easy, basic, fundamental question.
Right.
So the idea is that if you understood the basic thing, then you should get this question right. Okay, if you can't even get that fundamental question right, then you should go back really and revise it. Okay, so you start building on from that. So first you build the foundation, start understand the basic things, and then from that you build the higher level. And that's the right method to do it. You can't just jump into with a difficult concept and say, I'll start solving the thermodynamic problem. You can't actually do that. You need to start understanding the entire how heat flow and everything works, and then you can actually go and solve difficult problems. So it's really very basic principle. Okay, that's true for all sorts of education, not just NEET or JEE. It's just the theory of life. Actually, you start with something simple, make sure that you understand it, make sure that you can apply it, these simple things, and then once you're done with that, then you increase the difficulty level.
That's so true. But then the guidance is done, the preparation is done. For 2 years, you've been slogging, day and night to prepare for this NEET examination. But then, of course, there are some tips and tricks, the last minute strategies that every teacher has for their students. So what are your last minute strategies that you would recommend for your students?
Well, first of all, when you, as you said, you're slogging for 2 years, right? We don't want that. We don't want that. We want to have a healthy, normal atmosphere. We are not running we are not running a military school, right? We don't want them to be lifting like 50 kg of weights. Okay, we want them to be smart. Okay, we want them and that word itself is the meaning, the smart. We want to be smart in a sense, smart in making decisions, not smart just academic. We want to be them smart in making the right decisions. Okay, and what happens is in this 2 year, their body is changing, their psychology is changing. A lot of the times, just the hormones kick in and they can't control it. Okay, so that's what we want them to understand. Like, we want parents to understand that you have to consider that there is a biological change going in your kid. He is not going to be the same kid after 6 or 8 months or 1 year. Okay, it's not going to be the same. He's going to be changing. He's going to be more irritated. He or she is going to be more irritated. He's going to, they are going to argue with you. So you need to consider the fact that you can't argue with them. All right. You need to kind of direct them or direct their energy, because all these hormones is good. It gives them the energy. So you need to actually direct that energy in the proper direction, rather than spending time arguing with them or pestering them. All right. So you can't actually just say that we did this for 2 years. Well, you shouldn't. Okay, it's if you do that, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a success. All right, because there are a lot of other factors that will decide if you're going to be successful or not. So you shouldn't be slogging for 2 years. Just enjoy. Okay, this is a very good learning opportunity. If you do well in this course, in this 2 year, your entire personality will change. You will be an entirely different person. You will be improved person of yourself. Right. Okay. In many cases, when the students comes to us, he is just a kid. He's a 15 or 16-year-old kid, and we tell them, parents, just wait for 6 months and then observe. Okay, then observe what happens, and then in 6 months period they are really changed. Their maturity level is high. We want to instill that sense of self-reliance on them. Okay, rather than just be a kid, we want to incorporate. We tell them stories about things like that. We compare our culture with some other culture, what is good and what is bad, and how you can learn from these things. And so once you understand that this is a long process, it's not like you cannot slog it for 2 years. Nobody can slog it for 2 years. And if you try to do that, you are a fool, because you're going to get tired after 6 months. That's what happens. Okay, if somebody wants to slog it for 2 years, it's like they do it anyway, but they start with basically the same approach. They have the same approach in 10th. They come and then they start to slog it for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Some of them can last for 6 months, and then they come to us, sir, nahi ho raha hai. I cannot do it. I cannot memorize it. So we tell them not to memorize things. Okay, and even then some students will come after, sir, nahi ho raha hai. I cannot memorize it. I never told you to memorize it. I never said memorize it. Okay, you're not supposed to memorize it. Humans didn't evolve to store things. Okay, we evolved to reason things. That's our evolution. Okay, we can't just we write down, so that we don't need to remember. We write down things. Okay, that's how we evolved the writing, basically, so that we can write the things we don't want to remember. Okay,
right.
So we need to reason things out. We need to understand the things. So once you understand that, then it becomes a little bit happier journey. It becomes a soothing journey. Okay, so you're not slogging it off. You take a day off, you enjoy whatever, right? Once in a while. So it's very important to the development of that whole thing. And once you do that, you start to understand things much better. You spend more time in actually learning than memorizing. Okay. And once you do that, you immediately see the scores actually improve significantly. All right. And that's why we say that it has nothing to do with your percentage in the 10th. Okay, I've seen that many times. Student comes with 95, 96 percentile and can't even cope with the studies in 11th and 12th because they didn't adapt. They didn't adapt to the new method. They just keep doing the same thing even after repeatedly saying you need to adapt. Correct. They didn't adapt it. So they will be eliminated. And even if somebody has got 60-70%, he comes in with a low confidence, but he listens. And that's the good thing. He listens, he adapts. Okay, he makes changes to his lifestyle, to his studying habits, and once he does that, there is an entirely positive change into his outcome. Okay, and once you see that he is getting better marks than somebody who's got 80%, 90%, 95%, his confidence skyrockets and he goes in the top tier, basically. Right. So these are the changes we want. We don't want to be slogging. Now coming back to the last minute tips. All right. We at Edubase believe that last minute revision should be prohibited. Okay. We don't want them to be revising on the last minute. We want them to be revising up to the last minute, but not at the last minute. Okay. So let's say you have an exam tomorrow, and that's what we had been telling our students, not to study the day you have the exam. Okay, or up to the day you have the exam. Say for example, tomorrow is the exam, you should be packing your books today. Okay, today you should be packing your books by the evening, because the research has shown, this was the research done by MIT's and Cambridge students, okay, on statistics. This is statistical research. If you had a good night's sleep, okay, if you are more relaxed, you tend to do better in the exam. So what is more important? Okay, you've studied for 2 years now. Okay, there is no reason for you to be studying a day before the exam or the night of the exam. You shouldn't be studying that. You studied for 2 years. Few hours is not going to make any difference to it. Yeah. Okay, it's absolutely useless. And what happens is that the students study, and in fact, I was talking to my students who gave the exam. Even after repeated, some of the students did make the same mistake. They just couldn't throw off the books. They just kept studying through the night, and obviously their score impacted. All right, so don't do that. As far as technically speaking, the last minute so we can say last week strategies. What should you do for the last week? Okay. So in the last week, don't do anything new. No, absolutely. Just give up anything new. Anything you see is new, skip it. Okay. Do the same thing. Basically, you can solve the same problems if you want. Okay. This will give you a good vibe. Okay. It will put you into a good mood if you can get the questions right. If you get the questions wrong, it will put you in the bad mood. So you want to be in a good mood. So do the same thing. Repeat. Okay. Keep doing the same thing, keep revising the same things. Just make sure that you are covering the entire topics. Make a timetable. Okay, you have 3 subjects, divide the day into appropriate times and relax time, give a break in between the day. You don't have to study like 14 or 16 hours a day. Okay, 7 or 8 hours a day of revision is fine for the last week. And as soon as you come a day before the exam, in the evening, you pack every single book you have. You burn them if you want, or you can lock them into the locker if you want. But don't study the night before the exam. That is absolutely killer.
Right. It's beautiful advices, sir. I think your advice is quite contradictory to a lot of professors who say that study at the last moment and you memorize while you're at the center as well. So it's, I think, quite insightful and quite helpful to students.
If you listen to any of the sane people, right? Who are really truly academicians and who are really understand how the things work, who have, like I said, I'm not giving my opinion. Okay, here I'm not giving my opinion. I'm giving a fact. This fact has been published in papers. Statistically, you cannot disapprove it. It's a statistics, and our students also find that beneficial. It makes sense, actually.
It does.
The more you relax, because and I had at some point given entrance exams. Okay, and I know from my experience also, the more relaxed I am during the exam, the better I will be doing it during the exam. Okay, it's just there was a time I was actually in New York, and I was supposed to be giving an exam. This was like it's a foreign pharmacy equivalency exam basically. And I had to travel from Florida to New York. I traveled at the night. I went to my friend's home. He was living somewhere in Brooklyn, and from Brooklyn I had to go to Long Island for the exam, and the exam was at 9. I had to report at 6. I had no idea. I've been for the first time to New York. I had no idea how to go there. I reached there at around 12 at the night, and then since we saw we just ended up talking, and so essentially I didn't sleep the entire night. And when I went for the exam the next day in the morning, because I had to leave at 4 in the morning, right? Because I had to catch trains and buses and to get there, or taxi, whatever, right? So I had to leave his place at 4 in the morning so that I can be there like at 6 or 7 for the reporting time. And as fine, and as soon as the exam started, after like 1 or 1.5 hours, I just felt sleep. That's it. I'm done with the exam. I just had no energy even though I prepared for the exam, but I'm so tired at the exam. I don't care. I just wanted to get out of the exam hall. Or I didn't care if I pass or fail. I didn't care about it. And I just sleep asleep. I fell asleep there. That's it. It's like done, I don't want, they won't allow you out actually. So so that is the worst exam I had given actually, and that is something I suggest nobody should have to do, right? So that's why relax. Okay, just before the exam, relax. You will do much better than if you revise.
Right. Yeah, relaxing is one thing I think Indian students should listen to, because they are really, really weak at it, and therefore we hear a lot of about suicides and some student has cut himself.
That's unfortunate.
So it's quite unfortunate to have such mentalities, and it's quite helpful if students start listening to what teachers like you are saying. So relax and just deal with it. So that's the main thing. So to sum it up, sir, any message you want to give our aspiring medical students? Any one message?
All right, few things. As I said, you need to start on the right foot with the right approach. That's one thing. Second thing is you need to make a timetable. Okay. Now anybody can make a timetable. That's not a big deal. Following the timetable is the big deal. So you make a timetable. You make sure that you incorporate sufficient amount of daily studies into it. You rotate the subjects accordingly, right? You make sure that you don't. So many times when I tell students to make a timetable, they make physics, chemistry, bio in one day. That's how they want to study, physics, chemistry, bio. No, you don't have to do that. You can incorporate only one subject per day, or best is I think 2 subjects per day. Incorporate 2 subjects. That will give you enough time to study and enough time to practice also. Okay, if you do 3 subjects is too much, you can't do practice. So first of all, do a timetable. Second of all, follow the timetable, and in the timetable itself you should have study time, practice time. That should be clearly mentioned. Okay, on an average, the amount of time you study, okay, is the same amount of time you should spend on practice. So if you're studying for 6 hours, you should spend 3 hours for study and 3 hours for practice. This is the on an average. Okay. Second thing is start listening to your teachers. Right. Okay. Maybe you don't have to listen to your parents, but if your parents is bothering you, you can talk to your teacher to talk to your parents. Your teacher can talk to your parents and they can soothe out the things, but talk to your teacher first of all. Any healthy relationship needs one important thing, and that is communication. If there is no communication, you cannot build a healthy relationship, whether it's your personal or professional. Okay, what you have with your teacher is a professional relationship, so you should communicate with him on a daily basis. Tell him ins and out. Okay, obviously you need to build the reputation first, you need to build the trust issue first, and then you can tell. For example, my students tell all kinds of things with me. They talk to me all kinds of things, and I respect that basically. And if there is a problem, then I will try to fix it. Next is basically to understand the concept. Why these exams are tough. Okay, why these exams are given on the first place? What are these examiners are actually looking for? Okay, why these exams are designed in this particular way? A lot of the times students ask me, sir, this inorganic chapter रहना जरूरी है क्या? This कितना याद करना पड़ता है, right? And that is true. Some of the concepts you need to memorize. There is nothing to it. You can't actually understand it. Okay. And if you try to understand, it just takes too much of time. So it's easier to memorize certain things. Okay. So obviously it's not something that should be in the syllabus, but it is in the syllabus. Then understand that it is about endurance. It is about, the exam or the preparation is not a sprint race. It's a marathon. Okay. So you have to. Okay, so you kind of have to go slowly. Okay, you can't run basically. You have to pace yourself for the program.
Absolutely, sir. I think all your suggestions have been really, really good, and I think they've been very different from a lot of professors, and I think that's what differentiates an experienced professor and the amateur ones. So thank you so much. We're very, very fortunate to have you with us today, and this chat session has definitely been very, very helpful, and I hope that was the same for you as well.
Thank you. Yes, of course. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And for our viewers, of course, we'll be having this interview on our Facebook page. So stay tuned for this interview. And also log on to our YouTube page for this interview. And go to our MyOnlineShiksha.com portal for Amol sir's courses on biology and chemistry and a lot more. Of course, we'll be launching new courses as well on the website soon. So thank you so much, and stay tuned for more such interviews. Stay healthy and stay fit and keep growing. Thank you.